In today's video, I'm going to share with you the most risky to the least risky way to invest in the Dominican Republic. And then I'm going to share the easiest way to the hardest way to invest down here in the real estate of your dreams. And the secret to both of those lists is all in the financing. I'm going to explain in this video. Before we get started, my name is Jamie Gruber. I've lived in the Dominican Republic since 2022 with my wife and 2 young boys. And I share my experience living down here, including investing in real estate, which I have 1 real estate investment down here that is being built as we speak. If it's worth it to you, I would truly appreciate you subscribing to the channel. Let's get into it. The riskiest way to buy in the Dominican Republic by far is a pre-construction property. This is a very popular strategy down here and in many other countries like it, Jamaica, Mexico, and other Latin American communities. Essentially, a developer puts together a pitch deck and says, hey, we're gonna build this property. It might be individual houses in a whole community, or it could be a condo or apartment in a building. But you're buying completely on spec, and you're counting on the fact that you're gonna pay money and you're going to get a property built and sent to you at the very end. Now, why this is riskiest is because it's not in place. There's the risk of the market turning. There's a risk of investing with the wrong developer. Not even that they're scamming you. I mean, that can happen as well. That's probably like less than 10% chance. And some people dispute that, but those are people that may have had a bad experience or just negative in general about investing in places like DR. But take it from a guy on the ground who talks to developers, who talks to attorneys, who gets a sense. The consistent theme is scams are a small percentage, but they get all the news. More likely, honestly, is that the developer goes insolvent. Like they had all intentions of building the property. They started to build the property, but they didn't sell it fast enough. They weren't able to fund it, and therefore they run out of money and go bankrupt, and unfortunately your money is at risk. They didn't scam you, but it doesn't feel very good, and that's why it's so risky. Now, there are certain ways to mitigate that risk, and I've shared that in many videos, and I'll link one down below in the caption so that you can see my due diligence steps. Again, they're mine, you do your own, but I hope and think at least that the ones I'm sharing with you will help. But that's the riskiest way, is buying a pre-construction property. For whatever it's worth, I bought a pre-construction property. More on that in a little bit. Now, a less risky way, but still comes with risk, I mean, like any investment, is to buy land and develop it yourself. This is a great strategy to acquire a piece of land in a neighborhood or an area or a development that you believe a lot in. Here in the Punta Cana area, there are a few. There's neighborhoods like Cocotal. There's neighborhoods like Vista Cana. There's neighborhoods like Ciudad La Palma. There's neighborhoods like Ciudad Las Canas. There's neighborhoods like Cap Cana, where you can buy land and sit on it for a while until you decide to build a home or duplex or whatever it might be. Here's an example here. Let me show you. This house right here is in Punta Cana Village. It's being built, as you can see. This neighborhood is probably the premier, most mature neighborhood in all of Punta Cana. Not probably, it is. It's the neighborhood I live in and choose to live in because it has an amazing family atmosphere and tons to do within it. But you could see there's this developer building, it's called Palmareca 25, 450 square meters, which means 4,500 square feet. It's a big house. But that's being built by a developer, and the person bought the land underneath it at some point, probably from that developer, and they're building on it right now. Now, that land in this neighborhood goes for around 200,000 US, maybe a touch higher, maybe they bought it a little while ago and it's a touch under, but just 200 US is about the price of a plot of land here, probably about 700 square meters. So most of that land is being developed with a property. And the way it works in neighborhoods like this, I don't know how many houses are in Punta Cana Village, but it's fully secure, just like Vista Cana and Ciudad La Palma and Ciudad Las Canas and all the other ones I talked about. It's fully secure, and the owner of it, which is called Grupo Punta Cana, sells lots of land, plots of land, a whole bunch of them to a developer who then turn around and sell it to end buyers and build on it. Now, the issue with buying and building from a risk standpoint is the headache and the brain damage of dealing with a construction company, with a general contractor. And look, that ain't unique to the Dominican Republic. General contractors in general, for me, general contractors in general. General contractors, basically, everywhere I've ever been, do this. They come in hot and heavy, they get it going, they get 80%, 90% through the job, and then they disappear and jump to the next job and kind of come back maybe eventually to finish it off, or they're delayed, or they don't deliver it when they say they're going to. That's international language for a contractor. So now you add on to that, if you're not living here and you're buying land and you're in the United States or Canada and having it developed down here, unless you've got somebody on the ground that you know and trust that's taking care of overseeing the project, the risk is it doesn't get done on time. It doesn't get done to your liking. That's a big one. And I talk about this, little things like, hey, I wanted outlets every 4 feet or whatever the spec is in the United States, but here they put like 2 outlets in the room and you have to now have them go back in and complete it if they ever come back. It's a pain. Most people I talk to, when I say, yeah, we're thinking about buying land and building a house, they go, oh my God, I hope you're ready to give away a year of your life because It is a grind with the contractor. And again, I don't think that's unique to here. The other thing that contractors do, and maybe some of you know this, you could drop it down below if this has happened to you, but every contractor that's ever come in and looked at the previous contractor's work will tell you that the previous contractor did it all wrong. There's never been a contractor that's come in and said,
wow, whoever the prior guy was did a really nice job.
No, they got to crap all over them to make themselves look better. Standard contractor procedure. I think they teach it in contractor school. It's section 12, subsection B3. Shit on the prior contractor. It's the way you justify yourself. All right, the least risky way to invest in your dream property here in the Dominican Republic is to buy a property that's already constructed and complete. When you do this, you can bring in a home inspector, you can do a lot of things to make sure that this property is set. Whatever you do, in any of these, you hire a lawyer, and if you need one, I have a link down below. You can fill out a form and you'll connect to my lawyer. To be clear, if you do end up using him, he will pay me a referral fee, but always use a lawyer, please. But an in-place home that's already constructed, you can see it, you can feel it, you can have a look at it, you can see what's going on with it, and it's there. You know it's there. You're not dealing with the contractors. You're not dealing with the developer. You're not worried about the developer running out of money before they can finish the project after you've invested in it. All you're doing is buying your home, and yeah, you do what you want with it. Rent it out, live in it, whatever the case may be. Yeah, let me show you. So for instance, you could buy a home like this one, or across the street, there's a home like that one. Now these in this neighborhood, is another right there, right next to that one I was showing you that's being constructed. These homes will go for, I'm gonna say 650 to 900,000, somewhere in that range is what these homes will go for in this neighborhood generally. But you could go to other places like Vista Cana, or Cocotal might be close. Cocotal is a golf community locally. That might be close in price, maybe a touch lower, 10, 15% lower. But in Vista Cana, you could buy a house resale for probably between 200,000 and 300,000, 3-4 bedrooms, newly built in the last 3, 4, 5 years. And Vista Cana is great. There's a big future there. It's just still a large area under development. The same in Ciudad Las Canas, you can buy property there for probably 4-ish, but in Ciudad La Palma, which is up the street from this neighborhood, you could probably buy a resale property for, I would say, 2 or less potentially. And they have new home construction there that's more like 240, 250, which is still an amazing price. So recapping quickly, out of the 3 ways to buy, the most risky is pre-construction. The second most risky is land that you develop yourself. And the least risky is going to be buying a property that's already constructed. So now you might say, great, all right, good. I'm gonna just buy a property that's already constructed, Jamie, thanks for that. Not so fast, because how easy it is to buy is the other list that we're gonna go through. And let me just say, this order is gonna reverse. So if you wanna buy an in-place construction like this, that is by far the hardest way to buy in the Dominican Republic. Caveat in this is unless you're buying cash. If you can buy cash, amazing, then it becomes very easy. But most people don't have $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $700,000 laying around, so they wanna get financing. Well, that's where we run into issues. It's not that you can't get a mortgage here, and if you're wondering what banks to go through, I'll give you a few that I've heard. I don't have a mortgage here, but I've heard have good mortgage products. That would be Banco Popular, Scotiabank, BHD, and Banco Lopez de Aro. But here's the way financing works when you get a mortgage here, especially for those of you in the States who are used to a certain thing, you're gonna wanna listen up for this. In the US, you usually get, say, a 30-year amortization, so you have 30 years to pay the property off. You could put as little as 5% down, or maybe even 3.5% if you're using an FHA mortgage, but even still, 20% is solid. You could put 20% down and avoid what they call PMI, private mortgage insurance, in the United States. And then lastly, your interest rate's gonna be probably right now, I don't know, between 6 and 7% as I record this. At one point, I mean, my house in Michigan that we still own is like 2.5% or 3%. It's ridiculously low. I'm sure many of you are locked into that. When you finance in DR, it's different. First off, 30-year mortgages aren't really a thing. Can you find them? I'm sure you can, but if you're just coming down here to buy a property and you want to go to one of these banks to get a mortgage, it's going to be 20 years, maybe 25 max. So that's the first difference. Your amortization schedule is going to be less than in the US. Second is the interest rate. Now, if you're borrowing in Dominican pesos versus borrowing in US dollars, the interest rate is different. Don't quote me exactly, but I'm just going to give you a ballpark range in the 3-ish years I've been here to give you an idea of where they land. If you're financing in pesos, the interest rate can go anywhere from 12 to 18%, maybe even higher, I've heard, and 12 might be overly conservative. It might be more like 13 and up. If you're financing in US dollars, you can get a mortgage in the 8 to 9% range. Doesn't sound terrible, right? But here's the thing, the rate is only fixed for a short period of time. One bank advertised an interest rate of like 7%. I was like, oh my God, that's an amazing interest rate down here. Why wouldn't you do that? But when you look at the fine print on it, that 7% is fixed for 6 months, and then it floats. And that was a special they were offering. For that, say even 8 to 9 or 7.5 to 9% US dollar mortgage to get it down here, typically the rate is fixed for 1 to 5 years. And really, the longer you want it fixed, the higher the interest you're gonna pay. So in other words, if you say, well, I want the lowest interest rate of 7.5%, if they offer that, then they're gonna fix that for 1 year. If you say, well, okay, well, I want a fixed rate for longer, I want 5 years fixed rate, then they're gonna probably do that for 9%. Make sense? I hope it does. And then on top of that, it's the bureaucracy and red tape of dealing with a bank. I mean, look, just to go in and do a deposit at a bank is a full-on afternoon adventure in the Dominican Republic. Like it, love it, whatever, it just is what it is. The bank is a contact sport. Like I avoid it like the plague whenever I can. There's online banking, there's other things. You don't have to go to banks all the time, but there are occasions where you need to, and even just to go in to ask a question, oof, plan an hour, maybe 2. Although one time I got out of there in 15 minutes. But it was like right before they were closing, I caught them right at the right time. It was a unicorn. But the reason why buying in-place construction, while it's the least risky, is the hardest, is simply the financing. Now again, if you can withstand it, if you can get through it, if you don't mind it, if it makes sense for you, if you can pay it off aggressively, go for it. It's a great way to do it. And for those that are asking, no, there are no US products that you can borrow from to buy down here. The only thing you can do in the US is maybe borrow from your home equity, borrow from your 401k, maybe a personal loan if the bank allows you to use that to buy something out of the country, but you're not gonna get a mortgage in the US for a property in the Dominican Republic. All right, so moving up the chain here, the second easiest way is going to be, well, right where it was on the other list, land. And then of course, building your own property on it. Now, the reason I say it's the second easiest way is because you're dealing with a contractor one-to-one. You have to deal with that contractor. You're managing that from afar. That's really hard. But most contractors do self-financing with you directly until the project is fully built. So they might say, okay, it's 20% down for the build, and then you're gonna pay installment payments for the 2-year build period to get another 30% paid off before you take possession of the house. So if you had 20% down and you made installments to pay another 30% of the value of the property as it's being built, then you're left with 50% at the end. Let's do this with numbers, might be easier. You're building a house for $200,000. The day you close with the developer to build it, you're gonna pay them $40,000. That's 20% of $200,000. Then for 2 years, you're gonna take $60,000, which is 30% of $200,000, and divide that by 24. Whatever that might be, that's gonna be your monthly payment. And then when it's all done, and they're like, great, house is done, here are the keys, they're gonna say, you owe us 100 grand, and then you do that however. Go to the bank and get a mortgage, take out 2 loans from you and your wife's 401k, because you can each take 50K, take out a home equity line, use cash, whatever it might be, you pay off the balance on the end. It's really easy, really convenient. But again, you're dealing directly with the contractor to build this home. That is brain damage personified. I will say this though, if you were to look at a house like this that you could buy for say 700,000 or 800,000, you could buy the land and pay, let's say, anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 per square meter to build the property. So if you wanted to build a 300 square meter home, 3,000 square feet, which in the end would have a value of say between $700,000 and $800,000. The land is 200, you're gonna pay $1,000 to $1,500, so like 300 to 450,000 to build it. Let's call it 400 grand just to make it easy. 400,000 to build it, 200,000 for the land, you're 600,000 in, and it's worth 8. It's a hell of a deal. It's actually cheaper to build here than buy, but it's safer to buy when it's completed, but you'll pay for that safety in the form of full retail versus building the house, you do it for much less. By the way, these prices I'm quoting, 1,000 feet, that's like Punta Cana, maybe Las Terrenas. These are areas that are fully developed. If somebody's gonna go live in the middle of nowhere, Dominican, like way less. And of course, consult with a contractor. Come on, look at his face. Do I look like I know how to build something? No. All right, so the hardest is to buy a house because of financing that's already completed. Second hardest, or like a little bit less hard, is buying land and building for the reasons I mentioned. So that only leaves the least difficult way to buy, which is pre-construction. Now remember, it's the riskiest, but it's the easiest. So when people say,
Why don't people just buy resale down there?
I hope this is making it clear for you. It's way easier to buy a pre-construction property from a developer than it is to go find your dream home and buy it like you do in the United States. And here's why. Let's say you come down on vacation and you're like, wow, I really love this here. You know what? I need a slice of this. I need to own a piece of paradise. Well, there are any number of developments going up right now that you can go to and sit down with a salesperson, and they're gonna walk you through a whole thing. And they're gonna say, hey, look, here's a condo that we're building. It's gonna be 2 bedrooms. It's gonna be 100 square meters, about 1,000 square feet, maybe 120 square meters, 1,200 square feet. And the price is gonna be $240,000. It's 2 blocks from the beach, gated community, all these amenities. It's beautiful. And you're like, wow, this is amazing. Like, how do I do it? They would say, okay, great. To hold the property today, it's $5,000. So you go, wait, $5,000 and it's mine? $5,000 and it's secured, it's yours. So you give them the $5,000 check right there that day. Then you sign a contract within 30 days after your lawyer looks at it, after you've done the due diligence in the video down below. Not saying go to any developer, go to the ones that are great. By the way, if you want my developer, where I'm buying in Cortecito with Maple Beach, Maple Suites, and Boardwalk Developments, you want to deal with them and buy with the same building that I'm buying in? Link below to get on that list and they'll reach out to you. Where I'm buying in Cortecito for me is number one, the best Airbnb. Anybody will confirm this is the best Airbnb neighborhood in all of Punta Cana. You're gonna get the highest occupancy rate there. Two, it's still reasonably priced being only a block from the beach. My price was $170. I think they might be going for $180. These are 1-bedroom condos and it's literally 1 block from the beach. And then 3, this developer has been, I do videos, you can see them, go on my channel. I've done 3 so far showing the beginnings and continued progress of the building. Reputable developer, reputable owner of the development company, and so on. But you come down here, you choose your development based on doing some due diligence, you give your $5,000 to hold the unit, and then you owe the full 20% by the end of the month, which is when you sign the contract. So for a $200,000 condominium, that's the number I said, $5,000 down, and then you need to put 20% total down. So that's $40,000, but you're gonna stroke a check for $35,000 at the end of the month because you already put $5,000 down at the beginning of the month. So cool, now your down payment is set. And they tell you it's gonna be 3 years to build this. And they need you to pay another 30%. So we'll do a little quick math. So 30% of 200,000 is 60,000. You divide that by 36 months and you're talking about $1,666.66 a month for the next 3 years. So you say, you know what, we could swing that. That's great, we'll do it. And at the end, we know it's $100,000, we got it, we'll figure it out, we'll take care of it, we're in. And now, when you're away, you're not dealing with the contractor, you're dealing with the development company, the one you vetted, the one you're sure is reputable, the one you know is gonna do the job right. So you've got an intermediary between you and the general contractor, unlike when you're building your own property on your own land. It can't get any easier, it really can't. It's super, super simple to buy pre-construction condos. And then on top of it, garbage truck. Many of those condos will come with what's called confotor benefits. What this means is it waives 2 taxes. 1 is property tax for 15 years. Not gonna pay a dime in property taxes. And 2, it's gonna waive the 3% asset tax or transfer tax at the time of sale. So if it doesn't have confotor, you have $200,000 condo, you're gonna pay 3%, that's $6,000 to transfer the title to you, to transfer the property to you. That gets waived if it's confotor, and many developments come confotor approved. So again, super simple, tax-free, easy. If you can make the payments, that's all you need to do and it's yours. And you don't have to deal with the construction, you deal with the development. So let's just put these up side by side. The most risky way to buy is pre-construction, but the easiest way to buy is pre-construction. A less risky but harder way is buying land and building yourself. And the least risky way of buying a property that's already complete is also the hardest way to buy, unless you're buying cash. Now again, I purchased pre-construction because I vetted the developer. I'm very confident with this developer. It's also the easiest way to buy. And part of the arrangement I made with this developer was to say, hey, look, I want to see this progressing. I want to share honestly with my audience what exactly is happening with it. So I worked out a deal with them, which I shared on another video. But for you who is interested in that property with Boardwalk, you can go and watch the progress of the property as we go. And if you message me and say, hey, Jamie, I bought there, can you go check out where my unit is? Here's the unit number. I'll do that for you on video. You just let me know. But I hope that gives you a sense. I hope that gives you a sense of what it's all about to buy down here. And it's answering this question I get often, like, oh, I would never buy pre-construction. Why don't you just buy something that's already completed? It's not the same market as the United States. So just remember that. Now I mentioned the condo that I bought and showing the steps. The most recent video I'm gonna share right here so that you can see exactly where it stands, what it looks like, and you can even see the footprint of my unit. Pretty cool. So check that out. And I'll see you on the next one.